Well, good morning, everyone. I'm so glad that you chose to be here today and to join us. And I want to welcome all of you that are new to Kids to College or Kids to Career. And it's just such an honor. And this is so exciting to be with all of you today. So we are going to be talking about communication and communication skills. And so part of what we're doing here is, part of our objective is to learn how to have healthy relationships, because we people need people. We need healthy relationships. We need strong people around us that are going to support us and help us to become the best versions of ourselves so that we can fulfill our purpose, so that we can really thrive and be successful in this life. And healthy relationships help us to be happier. And when we're happy, then we are more able to be successful. So one of the tools to having healthy relationships is found in how we communicate. So that's why we're going to talk about communication today. So first we need to think about, a study came out probably, I would say, 45 to 50 years ago that talked about different aspects of communication, because communication isn't just our words. And so according to this study, they say that 7% of the meaning of your communication actually comes from your spoken word. So when you want to get across meaning, your words only communicate 7% of what you're trying to get across, whereas your tone of voice communicates 38%. Like I could say, I'm so glad that you're here. I hope that you have a great time. And you might feel that I actually mean it. Or I could say, I am so glad that you're here. I hope that you enjoy it. That would communicate, I'm not so glad that you're here. Or I'm so glad that you're here. I hope that you enjoy it, right? That's not communicating that I'm really glad that you're here. So our tone of voice communicates 38% of the meaning of what we're trying to say. And then our body language. I could say, have a nice day, and give a hand gesture that means quite the opposite. I'm still communicating words that say have a nice day, but my body might say something different. So when I stand up and I talk to you and I say, I'm so glad that you're here, you would feel, I was like, yes, you're here. And I come up to you and I give you a big hug. My body communicates that I'm glad to see you. If I'm just like, I'm glad you're here, and my body communicates, I don't want you coming near me, then my body language is saying something completely different than my words. And you can say, but I said the right thing, but your body says something totally different.
But we can also say I have COVID.
We can also say I have COVID. Take my foot, like we can bump toes or something, fist bump in the air. Yes, but there's still a way, even when people have masks on, you can see happy eyes.
Absolutely.
You can see those cheekbones that come up and those eyebrows. I have very expressive eyebrows. So you can still express. And the other thing during COVID that I've grown to love is messages with my clothes. So I have this t-shirt that says love. I have this other t-shirt that says be kind. And so that I can express something, even though I might have to be somewhere where my face is covered and you might not see my teeth smiling, but there's ways with our bodies to communicate something. So the question to think about today, as we're talking about communication, is, we're going to be over here, bring my notes. When we're communicating, what is our goal? Because you can have two goals here. You can have the, I want to build my relationship goal. What's your goal? Is your goal to build? Or is your goal and block. Do you want to build a relationship with this person that you're talking to, or do you want to block the relationship with this person that you're talking to? And so when we're trying to build a relationship, we want to think of ways of connecting. We want to think of ways of building up the base to our relationship. So we're going to talk about this foundation, but when we want to block the relationship, because there are some relationships that need boundaries. There's some relationships that need to be completely blocked. So go ahead on your phone. Don't wonder if that person who's no good for you is trying to reach out to you. Go ahead and block them, remove their phone number. They don't need to bring your life down. So I'm asking you, and this is where you get to interact in the chat, to think of ways that we build our relationship. When we're talking with people, when we're communicating with people, what are ways when we talk where we will build a foundation that will create good communication? So I'm going to start you off with one so you kind of get on the thread. One way that we can build healthy relationships through good communication is by being honest. So when I want to build healthy relationship and good communication, my first block, my first brick right here, I need to be honest. All right, what are some other suggestions? When you're communicating with people that you want to build relationship with, that you want to connect with, what are some other things? Go ahead and write it in the chat.
You can put it on the chat.
And then as you see, you can just let me know. If I want to build a relationship with you, how should I communicate?
Active listening.
Okay, that's great.
Consistency.
Ooh, those are good. So listening.
With respect. Being trustworthy.
I missed one before. Active listening.
Consistency.
Consistency. That is so good.
Loyalty.
Loyalty.
Sharing true emotions.
What else?
Kindness.
Ooh, kindness is good. Now, there's something that's really important, and I love all of these things include like sharing true emotions. There's a misconception out there that if you have an argument or if you have a disagreement or even if you have a fight, that's an unhealthy relationship. But that's totally false, because I love Mr. Cyril and we are very good friends, but there are things that we disagree with, that we disagree on. And so to have a healthier, strong relationship means we are going to share when it's appropriate that disagreement, and we're going to, in a loyal friendship way, in an honest way, and listening to each other in a respectful way, we're going to talk through that disagreement. And even if we agree to disagree, we will have a stronger, healthy relationship because we didn't just pretend it didn't exist. We didn't hide it away to fester in the background. And so having healthy, strong relationships means that you can be honest with one another. When you said that or when you did that, it really upset me, right? But you can say it in a way that builds your relationship, but doesn't cut it down. So I want to hear from you. What are things that you can do in communication that would break down that relationship? How are ways that you could communicate that would destroy that connection? What are some things?
So one thing I missed, Dr.
Oh.
Liz, is the support on that first one. Being rude and lying.
Right. Oh, that's so good. So if I was being rude or telling lies, what else breaks the relationship?
Not try to understand their point of view.
Yes. So not trying, that's an important word there, to understand.
And Mika Scott says that being disrespectful and not being honest.
Absolutely. These are great because when rude can cover a lot of things. There are a lot of people that as soon as they get mad, they forget about great vocabulary and they just start using explicit terms, and nothing truly good is being communicated. Nothing is going to connect. No good fruit comes at swearing at one another. But when we can say, when you did that, it really upset me. When we can keep all of our smart thinking in play and we can talk through it, then we don't create a bigger mess. But when we're just explosive and we're just rude to that person, not only will it take longer to resolve the conflict, then we have a whole nother mess to clean up because we have injured that person. So keeping our self-control on and our minds engaged so that we don't end up just lying, that we don't end up just closing off. You know, when you allow yourself to get so mad and explode, there's a hormone that gets released in your brain that stops you from thinking clearly. So then it's so hard to actually hear what your friend is saying, because remember, your goal is to build a relationship. So that means you want to hear that person out, hear everything that they're saying, understand it before you formulate a response. So today, what I would like for you to take home with this, well, most of you are already at home, but what I'd like you to think about, what I'd like you to process and start to apply in your relationships is, first of all, what is the goal here? Do I want to connect with this person? Do I want to build a healthy relationship? Or this isn't the person for me, I don't want to build a healthy relationship. If your goal is to build a healthy relationship with them, then your communication needs to be honest, it needs to be loyal, it needs to be consistent, it needs to be trustworthy, it needs to be kind. So I want to encourage you this week, this month, as you're communicating with your friends, to think about, even if you're really frustrated with them, what is my goal? Is my goal to build this relationship, or is my goal to walk away? We need healthy relationships to be happy and truly successful. So this needs to be something that we're thinking about as we're developing these lifelong relationships.
Right. Dr. Liz, as I'm listening to you, one of the things that just comes to my mind is in the past, when we want to communicate with somebody, we had like a letter that we write, right? It takes like 2 or 3 days to get to that other person. And it just like makes it like even more, anxious, like, not anxious is not a good word, but it's like excited to see a letter come through, but today, the kids have like almost like an instantaneous access to communicate what they want to say. Like they have Instagram, they have, the Facebook, they have Twitter, they have all these social media tools at their disposal. What can they look for in order that they will have like a healthy communication on those platforms?
That's a great question. And even in when we're texting people, because when you text people, it's hard to hear tone of voice.
Right.
Because if you're upset when you receive that text, you're going to hear it through the filter of the fact that you're upset. So you might hear it with a sarcastic tone. And so we have little emojis that we can add, but still they don't truly really give tone, because you could look at emoji in a sweet way, or you could look at the exact same emoji with a sarcastic tone and it feels very different.
Right.
And so this is why it's really important that when you need to communicate about important things, when you need to communicate with your friends or the people in your sphere about things that are important to your relationship, actually speak to them. If you can do it face to face, that's the best. And so even on a FaceTime, we have these tools that can be great gifts, like a FaceTime or in person. But if that's not possible, you could call them on the phone or even voice record so they hear the tone of voice in which you're coming across. Because if they see in a text, sorry you felt that way, if they're upset, they might just hear, sorry you felt that way. But if they hear your voice and you hear, Liz, I am so sorry that you felt that way. Would you please forgive me? Let's talk about it. They're going to receive that in a totally different way.
Right, right. So another thing, Dr. Liz, as as I'm listening to you, there are things that I just saw in Jesus talking about it in Matthew chapter 12, verses 36 and 37. He says, I tell you, on the day of judgment, people have to give an accounting for every careless or a useless word they speak.
Yes.
For your word reflecting your spiritual condition, you will be justified and acquitted of the guilt of sin, and by your words, you will be condemned and sentenced. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Some people just need to stop talking because they have like a huge mess to fill out.
Yeah, so the thing is that this week, I've been going through some, classes on how to speak, right? And one of the things that I just learned, especially on the communication, when Abraham Lincoln wrote a letter to his daughter, right? At the very end, he said, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter, right? Sometimes we don't think as much. When we say too many things in public, we're not thinking through to shorten it.
Yes.
Right? Summarize it. If we only can just think through and not waste the words that we speak, and be loyal, be respectful. And it's very, very important right now for our students because, these days, some of the schools are actually looking at the Facebook. They're looking at what you're communicating through the social media. There is a school like a Georgetown. It's like a 2 months or a 3-month process. Even after we send the application in, they're looking through everything that you have said, even on a social media.
It's very true. And also getting a job, they look at that. And even in terms of in police investigations and court systems and all of this, even if you delete something, it is never totally gone. And anything that you put in on social media, anything that you put in a text, anything that you put anywhere can be found and always found forever. And so it's important to think about that. And what you said about less words, I find that all the time. Like when I'm working with my own children, I have 3 sons, and sometimes they're rascals. They're mostly amazing, but sometimes they're rascals. And I get so frustrated and I have all this stuff that I need to tell them. And I realize they're not listening anymore. And maybe now I've said something I shouldn't said, and now it's hurt their heart. Whereas I should have taken a big breath and just said with less words and communicated this is what you're doing wrong. This is what I'd like you to do about it. And there's a way that we can think through before we just eject how we're feeling. How we're feeling isn't always the truth of the situation. So although I might feel really angry and that I'm just done with this, when I take a big breath and calm down, go for a little walk, I realize, yes, I'm hurt, but I'm not done with this. Let's fix it. Let's clean it up.
Fantastic. Dr. Liz, I have like two things that I want you to do before I invite the next guest to come in. Is there, do we have Amaya on the line? Amaya Childress? Can you turn your, camera on? I do want to brag about like two of the students. Amaya is one of our Kids2Career kids that's going to college this fall. Amaya, tell us a little bit about like, how you are with the college application process.
Well, I have basically finished all of my application process. I applied to all of the schools that I had on my radar, so to speak, and I got acceptances from all of those. So now my big issue right now is choosing where to go.
Right. So, Amaya, what are some of the colleges that you got acceptance from?
I got accepted from Gardner-Webb in North Carolina, USC Upstate, Lander University.
Fantastic.
There's one more, but
yes, Clemson. Let me remind you, Clemson.
Yes, sir.
This is one of our students that's going to college this year, right? The fall of 2022 is when the school is going to start. But she's already got admissions into college right now.
That's wonderful.
Not only that, she got admissions into college, she got full ride to some of these schools. And that, one of the schools that she's rejecting, even though she got a full ride, is Clemson. And I was just thinking to myself, like, how good it is for her to just like see the programs that she wants to get into. She wants to get into nursing. And so we are so proud, Amaya, for what you have done. And,
Thank you.
where you're heading from here. And I just want this to be a testimony for all of the students. We have Amaya on the line, 8th graders and 9th graders, that will be listening to you. What would you say to them? What was the one thing that you just like hang on in your journey as you came into this place?
I would just say you have to be proactive. Never wait until it's too late. That was always my thing. Going into senior year, I was like, okay, you have deadlines, these are the schools you want to get into. Do the early acceptances. My motto was just put in the work the first semester, so the second semester you can kind of take it easy. My just advice would be not to wait until it's too late.
Fantastic. Thank you, Amaya. Thank you for
yes, sir. Thank you.
Speaking today. You can go back to hiding your camera.
But we are so proud of you. We are so proud of you. And we will be praying for you as you make this great decision of what school to choose and all of the different decisions that will come in this next year, that God would just give you strength and direct your path.
Yes, ma'am. Thank y'all.
Wonderful. Kids, here's one last thing before we bring in the next guest. If you can, if you have like your dream opportunity to go to school or your career, what would that be? Would that be like a chef? Would that be like a movie director? Would that be a nurse? What would that be? So what is the profession that you want to pick up? So if you can type it on the text. Here's the reason why. Starting next month, after Dr. Liz finishes speaking, we're going to, send each of our kids into different rooms. We have nurses and doctors ready to run the nursing program. We have restaurant owners that wants to run the culinary program. We have also people from different professions, like from IT department. They want to help our kids. So go ahead and type in what is that career that you want to choose. So it's going to pediatric nursing. Great.
Wonderful.
Ms. Katina, would you just like to take all these pieces so that we'll get the mentors.
I'm already on it.
Fantastic. Child psychologist. Okay. Anyone else? Forensic science.
Ooh, that's cool.
Actor. So we should get Joshua in. Environmental geoscientist. Registered nurse. All right, wonderful. Go ahead and keep typing it. To get my CDL, no problem, perfect. So go ahead and type all your answers on the chat. Ms. Katina is going to pick them up. Dr. Liz, thank you so much for being with us. She has such, an amazing, way of presenting all these information in spite of all your, schedule being so whacked, to be with us is just amazing. Thank you so much, Dr.
It
Liz.
is one of the best things I do, my favorite thing. So anyway,
Wonderful.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. We'll see you next month.